I know this club, with the history the club has, and we always wanted to write our own chapters in this history book, and that tonight obviously was another one, which is nice. For the people tonight, it's great. Come on. My wife was here as well, somewhere there, so she enjoyed it, obviously, I hope, as well.
What are your overall feelings now?
Sad, disappointed, angry, of course. But my emotions doesn't matter here now. These players and this group has come too far to give up. I know I've seen the development through the years I've been here with the group. They stick together, they look after each other, and today we weren't good enough.
At the moment I'm hurt, I'm disappointed. I'm going to look at myself. Every player should do. They should go home tonight, look in the mirror, and look at themselves, look at the individual performance.
Mo Salah obviously stands out with a hat-trick. How good is he? Where is he in terms of the players you've played with?
It's one of the best for sure. The way it finishes is unreal, I think. Even the one that I assist is not an easy ball in with one touch. He just puts in the back of the net. And this is massive, important for the team, because in the end, that's what all the teams want, the goals.
We won games before high and reacted when we were younger, not as long together, got a bit carried away by our own whatever results, performances. That will not happen again.
We've got big games coming up. We've got Tottenham away. Next time we're here, it's Man City. It's a Champions League game in there as well. So human nature, it can go either way, this. Of course, you know, players can sulk, I can sulk, or we can come together.
Wow.
Where on earth do you begin with that, then?
Listen, this game's hyped up as one of the biggest in the world, and rightly so, because of two clubs and the stature of the two clubs. But there's one club in Liverpool are a million miles in front of Man United today, and I think that comes down to the way they're coached, if I'm going to be totally honest. It's chalk and cheese in what they're doing. You can listen to Ollie there, you can listen to Harry Maguire talking about taking the blame on themselves, but playing the way it's just like it's all over the place.
But also, as well as the coaching for Liverpool, they have players who can interchange.
Yeah.
By that, I mean, no Fabinho today, so Henderson operates in the middle of a midfield.
Jota comes in for Mane.
Jota comes in for Mane. Konate comes in back for Motd. But Henderson and Keita in particular ran that midfield for Liverpool.
Everybody knows what they're doing in that team. So when people come out and when people come in, nothing changes. We know that what Liverpool are going to do, they're going to close from the front, and then from the back, Henderson and Keita, they're going to get in, they're going to stop the play, and they're going to start building Liverpool's play. You can see it here again. This was the first goal. You know, he's not just satisfied to stay in and do the pivot stuff. He'll get forward and he'll go and finish like he did. This is what Liverpool are about. You know, especially with a Man United team that don't seem to know what they're doing. Look, he's already in there. Bam. Keita in on Fred. It's only because it was a poor pass from Firmino why they didn't punish him here. Again, look at him. He knows what he's doing. Look at Liverpool players. Bang, he's in. Fred's on his heels. And here's another slack pass there from Naby Keita. Liverpool could have been in again. Look at the, there's no space between them two and the defence. Look at that. Naby Keita, blam, block. You know, so when you're looking at Man United, there wasn't nothing they could do to break that. No plan B. Great play from Liverpool here. This is when they're really flying. Naby Keita, Fernandes, who, you know, this is the kind of thing he was doing all day. He was just leaving people. Naby Keita in the box again, sets up Mo Salah. You know, it was fantastic. Great play from these two all day. Henderson was magnificent as well today. And this for me, is, again, look at the pressure. This, for me, is one of the passes of the season. If De Bruyne had done it, everyone would be going into one. Look at this pass from him, man. Look at that from Jordan Henderson. That is gold. And then the finish is wonderful. But like I say, that team looked like expertly coached.
And done all of that without really mentioning Mo Salah, who got the hat-trick at Old Trafford and is in the form of his life.
Easily. People are saying best player in the world at the moment. You cannot argue with that.
So first Sunday that you've done this season, Manchester United lose 5-0 at home. As you are often saying in text messages to me, dearie, dearie, dearie me.
Yes, exactly that. And Man United have got some fantastic players, but they're a team of individuals. And I'm just going to show you some examples of that. The first clip here, you got Bruno Fernandes. So he's going to press, but no one's coming with him. Is he doing that to get the fans on his side? Is he doing that because he's been coached to do that? Mason Greenwood and Wan-Bissaka behind. He doesn't cut off the ball to Robertson. by the time Wan-Bissaka gets there, he's too late.
But he's not really got there, has he?
Exactly. He's not really doing anything. Lindelof doesn't get tight enough. McTominay, can he drop back and help out? They're all just doing things on their own, and there's no organisation. And ultimately, it was going to lead into a goal. Harry Maguire was excellent in the Euros. But for Man United, he's making these basic mistakes. Can he get in behind there? He doesn't. He sees Luke Shaw come here. But Bruno Fernandes, who I've talked up so much him going forward, but help your teammate out. Get back in there. Maguire makes one mistake. Can he rectify that by going to the front post and cutting at that ball? It doesn't do. It's all too easy. And look at the reactions, Mason Greenwood and Fernandes, after not tracking back. It's just ridiculous. Fred here, going on his own. At one stage here, he sort of gives up. Or is it yours? Is it mine? He doesn't know what he's doing. And then he switches off. Behind him, doesn't check his shoulder. When he does, it's too late. We've got the four here in a good shape. Liverpool have 10 men at this stage. McTominay's
because Keita's off at the boss.
Exactly there. McTominay's playing in there, and Greenwood ambles towards the ball. McTominay gambles and goes, leaves massive amount of space in behind, and then do we get a tackle in? Not once, but twice. And Shaw is in two minds. Should he come over? And then Rashford on the other end. He's not picking up one of the most dangerous people in form now in the Premier League. And it was just a catalogue of errors. And I was flabbergasted, to be honest, watching that today. I was so surprised in just we talk about the basics of football.
So, both of you, as former players, and right, the stats there make horrific reading as far as Manchester United are concerned defensively, right? I'm in the Manchester United boardroom. I have a decision to make now on what happens. You two are joint directors of football. I'll say to you, is that a manager's fault? Is it his coaching team's fault? Is it the players' fault? Explain that result to me.
Listen, a year ago, and I don't. When I'm doing this, I'm not doing it for fun. I'm not doing it to take the mickey out. I'm not doing it for clicks. I said a year ago about the tactical shortcomings of Manchester United. Got totally cooked for it. And you look at Paul Scholes the other day, and what he said, he ain't got no crystal ball, but you watch how Man United are playing and how they're setting up.
After they came back against Atalanta.
Yes,
yeah.
And he said, would you take that result against Liverpool? And he said, because if they play like that, they're going to lose. And you look at what they've done and the way they played, you have to say, how can the coaching team set them up to say, we're going to play on the front foot against this Liverpool side with no structure? No structure, no organisation in your pressing. So they can say whatever they want about the players need to do this, need to do that. The fact is, for me, that comes onto the coaching team. They need to be coaching that team better than they're being coached.
Which is understandable, and presumably you take that point. But then if you're Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the technical area and see Maguire and Shaw run into each other and Bruno Fernandes not track a runner and throw his hands up in the air, you must be standing there thinking, what are they doing?
Yeah, it's ridiculous because what I've just shown there is just the basics of football. We talk about Pep and Klopp and Tuchel. He's up against, loads of the best managers in the world, and it's going to be tough for him. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I've always protected him up to this point because I think he's done an excellent job in getting Man United and bringing that feel-good factor.
He completely changed the atmosphere and the culture to Mourinho.
But now he's under scrutiny because when you bring in Ronaldo and Varane and Sancho, like the squad is now as good as anyone else is in the league. And if they're not performing, of course we've got to criticise the manager because today I would say it was a mix between the players and the manager. But some of the way it wasn't pressing, or we need a little bit more coaching from Ole because I couldn't see a style of play. Man United's style of play has been counter-attack, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Before the interview, before the game, he said they're going to go on the front foot. But that's not front foot. That's people going by themselves. And you could see it. There's no cohesion within the team.
Just on the cohesion within the team, and the final point on this is, which I have asked before, and it goes back to that very first point about Liverpool being able to change players and the system and the style doesn't change. Manchester United at Leicester last Saturday had Matic and Pogba as a midfield team. During the week and today, McTominay and Fred as a midfield team. That's a very different midfield team. Change your left winger, it can be different. Rashford and Martial are different. Ronaldo and Cavani are different. If you change one member of your team, you get a completely different style, don't you?
This is the difference with Liverpool, but it wouldn't have mattered what midfield you put in there today, because they're not, for me, looking like they're coached to press. So it doesn't matter if it's Pogba, it doesn't matter if it's Matic, it doesn't matter if it's Fred McTominay. If you're going to sit off people and not go and close them, to win the ball down, to then get the ball to people with pace like Greenwood and Rashford, if you're not coached to do that, then you will see mistakes from Maguire and Shaw, who we saw have unbelievable Euros, because they're playing better, they're more coached, they know exactly what they need to be doing. They don't look like they know what they're doing.
Can it be turned round?
With Ollie, it's going to be difficult, but I think we've got to give him a chance to show what he can do. We can't just be. This game was tough because it was, you know, Man United, Liverpool, like Wright said, one of the biggest games, and it's who they get. And I'm not going to sit here and say a manager should go, but they're not going to get the same quality as what.
Any organised team come up against Man United now, Micah, they'll do the same thing to them. If they're not going to close them down, they'll do the same.
Well, that was an afternoon at Old Trafford that neither team will ever forget for very different reasons. And right here, this graphic really sums up Manchester United's season. Goals conceded 15. They are ranked 16th in the Premier League. The clean sheets, only the one. The errors leading to shots. The tackles, 104. They are 20th when you rank them against the other teams in the Premier League. Tim, that literally shows a lack of desire, does it not?
A lack of desire is a lack of ability as well. I mean, we all know they've got ability as individual players. There's a lot of world-class players there, but, you know, giving the ball away, decision-making in wrong areas of the field, not winning the ball back, tackles, to be last on tackles. Now, it's all right being a manager and you go on a coaching field and, like Ollie said, it's his philosophy. He doesn't blame anyone else, but he needs some help. He needs someone who's going to be out and coach these guys and tell them what is required, both in possession and out of possession. They're void of any ideas. I've been saying it for a long time now. Looks like he just throws them onto the pitch, and wherever they land, they have to play. And it's not always about formations, but it's about principles. It's about, are we going to push? If one pushes, someone goes in, we all funnel in together behind, or do we sit off and do we soak up the pressure and we counter-attack? And it's also an art to have a personality as a manager to make world-class players run around. Now, he seems like he's scared to tell the players to run, or they're not running, he's asking them to, and they're not doing it, and he's not doing anything about it. Now, someone like Simeone has world-class players. He plays aggressive, out of possession. They have to run back as quick as they run forward. They have to tackle. They'll be scared not to. He's got the personality to be able to do that. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer hasn't got that personality, unfortunately. I'm not sure where they go from here.
Where do you think they go from here?
No, I'd agree. I think he mentioned it there, that the group and himself haven't come so far for him to then walk away. But I think he's took that group of players as far as he can. I think you've seen today the goals they conceded, how disconnected the group was between the units. Defensively, they were poor, and just too many errors. And as you mentioned, it's not just out of possession, it's in possession. The amount of turnovers in midfield through sloppy passing, as Tim mentioned, is just not good enough for a Man United team.
And you said, Tim, I mean, you've managed the game, you managed teams, you know, you've had great moments, you would have had tough times as well. But you look at that team, and as you said, they just don't seem to know what they're doing. No,
they're void of any idea, of any process of what they're being told. And it's obvious for anyone to see when you're watching the game. Do they look like they're coached? They don't. They don't look like they're coached. You know, out of possession is easier to coach than in possession. And really, it's what good players need. They need to know how organised they're going to be out of possession. When you're playing against a team like Liverpool, where you know where the threat's going to come, and let's be honest, everyone in the world who's watching now knows how Liverpool are going to play. Jurgen Klopp's sides don't spring up any surprises. They play 4-3-3. We know that it's all about rotation in the front three. But to organise a team to go against that should be quite straightforward. I know it's difficult because you've got individuals with pace, but surely you don't leave the pace in behind you in your defence. You drop your defenders, you bring your midfield back, you have less gaps in between, and you counter-attack with the pace of Rashford and Greenwood, and you've got Ronaldo up top. Surely that was the way to go. It might not be how Man United fans want to see them play in the long run, but at the moment, with the players what he's got, and he's got good players, by the way, they're just void of any idea. I don't see anything he works on the training field replicated on the match day. And that was obvious today.
And, of course, I mean, we were thinking at half-time, OK, they're 4-0 down. This is embarrassing. It's humiliating for them. But yet they didn't really show that desire in the second half either. Yet Liverpool were still hungry for more goals.
They didn't show the desire. I think you've seen what Ollie tried to do. They got overrun in the first half in midfield. They tried to play a 4-2-4 and it just got overrun, which allowed the front three, the interchange up front for them. Fullbacks were getting high. He tried to play a diamond, so he tried to not allow Liverpool to play through the middle and be a little bit tighter and bring in Paul Pogba on to do that. But, I mean, taking a quick corner at 5-0 down and leaving a loose ball, I think Pogba tried to show that desire, that aggression, and he was just latent over the top of the ball and obviously down to 10 players with 30 minutes remaining. It's a nightmare for the rest of the players to see out that 30 minutes.
It certainly is. Well, of course, we were showing the match live on Matchday Live. Steve Bauer, Michael Owen and Paul Scholes were watching the game, and Scholesy was asked, where does Ole Gunnar Solskjaer go from here? And this is what he had to say.
I don't know, Steve. It's going to be very difficult for him.
Can he come back from that?
Yeah, I think he can. There has been some bad results in his reign. You think, going back to last year, the 6-1, I think it was against Spurs. He came under a lot of pressure. I don't think there was any crowd at that game, so that probably helped a bit. But this is slightly different, Liverpool. It's going to be very difficult to come back from it. But I think there's a chance he might do. I really don't know. It's probably a bit too hasty to start talking about stuff like that when it's been such a sad day, but you do have to question tactics. Today of all days, keep going back to it, playing them two midfield virtually on their own against a Liverpool team, at times in the middle of the pitch. They've not just got Keita, Henderson, Milner who went off injured, Curtis Jones comes on. They've then got players dropping into midfield. You've got Salah. It's almost 2 against 5 players at time. It's impossible for any midfield. And we can sit here and say that Fred and McTominay aren't good enough for Man United in centre midfield to win a league. But when you're left exposed as they are, it's impossible for anyone. This was always going to happen. Playing a game like that against a top-class team, this was always going to happen. And do you know what? I think players have to take a bit of criticism as well. We keep bigging them up, saying how special a group we think he's produced. A lot of these players have won nothing. Cristiano's come, he's won. Cavani, he's won. Varane, Pogba, they've won things. The rest of them, they've still got to prove that they can win trophies. It's all right saying we think they can. They play as if they think they can. But for 4 years now, they've not been good enough to win a trophy. So we can't just lay it all on Ole, although I do think...
But in terms of the players today, what you're saying is that he was the one who put that plan together where they were on the pitch.
I think tactically today was bad. But I thought the other night was bad as well. They got away with it the night because you're not playing against a top-class team. You are playing against one of the best teams there's been, one of the best teams there's around, along with Manchester City in Europe, if not the world. And you are going to get exposed coming up against quality players and a quality manager.
That in mind, Tim, we talk about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Of course, the onus starts and stops with the manager always, but the players surely need to take responsibility as well.
Yeah, that's right. They're all in it together, but ultimately the buck stops. It's Ollie's and always the manager's head on the block. He's the one who takes the credit when things go well. I'm so surprised that he's still in the job. I mean, anyone who manages for 3+ years without winning a trophy at Manchester United surely is looking at their phone, waiting for it to ring, and it'll be Ed Woodward or the owners of the football club telling them, unfortunately, you're not for us. I think this is a very emotional result. Yeah. I think they've lost bigger games than this, but this is emotionally very big. You know, to lose against your local rivals 5 at your home stadium, I think it's hard to come back from.
And you talk about being hard to come back from this. When you look at the fixtures they have to come, it doesn't really get much easier with Tottenham, another Champions League game against Atalanta, and then Manchester City. You've got Chelsea in there as well. It's hard to see Manchester United getting anything from these games with the way they've performed today.
They've got a tough run. They've come off the back of a tough run. I think, 4 defeats in the league and a draw. As you say, for a Man United team, it's just not good enough. But you say players need to take responsibility. I think players need clarity. They need, as we keep mentioning, they need to understand their role. And in this Man United team, I don't think any of those players understand what is expected from them. If you have a little bit of an understanding, that's when leadership from players that can come into it. So when you play and you kind of understand what's expected, you can lead your team in game. And I think what Man United haven't got is any clarity in terms of what they're going to do in and out of possession, and therefore players can't take the lead on the pitch because they don't know. So they're just doing their own thing and they're working in isolation, and that's where the goals come from today.
I think it's easier. I think the formation, just so simplify it for the people watching. Talking about Fred and McTominay sitting in there, and Scholesy talking about them getting overrun. They're getting overrun because Greenwood and Rashford are not coming back into them areas and defending. They need to run back. Right? Now, that is up to the manager to tell them that and force them to do that. And then you've got Bruno Fernandes, who's playing like just free. He wants to play when the team get the ball. He's got to drop back in between the two midfield players, McTominay and Fred, and thicken up the midfield when you're getting overrun. Then you haven't got the problem. And then you can let Ronaldo conserve his energy and do what he does best, is score big goals. He got one opportunity, it was offside today, to score a big goal. That is simple. It's not so complex. It's not so sophisticated that the boys can't understand it.
But if
it's
it is so simple...
It's withdrawing your wide players, so it nullifies the threat of Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, who are a big threat for Liverpool. And then when you win the ball, we know you've got ball carriers like Greenwood and Rashford to carry the ball forward. You've got Bruno Fernandes, who wants to get on the front foot and run towards the opposition goal. It's simple. But without the ball, they don't do it. They stay up the field and they just get caught out. And Fred and McTominay have to add the personality. If I'm in that midfield, I'm saying, you get back here, you get back here. Don't worry about what the manager's saying. We're getting overrun here. I need some help. And Bruno, you get your little arse back in there as well.
Well, you do wonder, though, if it is so simple, why do they not do it? And I mean, we could talk about this forever, and I'm sure the conversation will continue for a long time about this specific performance. But we've got to celebrate Liverpool, haven't we? Because they were absolutely brilliant today. Man United let them do what they did, but Mo Salah, everything he touches seems to be turning to gold at the moment.
He's the most informed player in the world at the moment. I think his performances of late, I mean, it's 10 in 10 for him in terms of his goals. It's not... He doesn't just score, it's what he does off the ball as well. I think, you know, you talk about the work rate of Rashford and Greenwood as two front players. His desire to win the ball back when he loses it here, to get in front of players. He links play so well, he gets between the lines, he can dribble. He's just, you know, he's in the form of his life, and I think he's a big part of why Liverpool are doing so well this season and have done so well over the last few years.
Oh, he's just in great form, isn't he? And Tim, I mean, he's the leading African goal scorer in the Premier League. He was tied with Drogba going into this game. Now he scored his hat-trick. He's way ahead, and he's just in the form of his life, as Farah said.
Incredible. I didn't think anyone would match Didier's record, but I mean, this little man is just a genius in front of goal, and he's this finishing looks so easy, but it's so difficult. He can only slide it into the near post, and he's absolutely brilliant. I mean, the pass here, I mean, they win the ball. This is when you talk about pressing. That's how to press. Look, surrounded him. And the pass from Henderson's fantastic. He overruns it, but he just sorts his feet out so well, and he lays the guy down and just dinks it over the top. It's just wonderful at the moment. He, without doubt, is the best striker in the world at the moment.
He's just so willing to run both ways, though, isn't he, and get around the ball. Like, defensively, he's in a good position for a transition. And on attack, when he sees, you know, Henderson and players in midfield pick up the ball, he knows he's going to get it. He's making that run beyond defenders and getting defenders facing their own goal. And then, as you mentioned, the footwork.
They make it easy. When Man United decide to defend the halfway line, you see how much space is in behind. You know, and they're going to exploit it. I mean, they played into their hands today, but you have to give credit to Liverpool.